Awesome, Jen. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you today and just hear a little bit more about what you did with your fundraiser. You've been working with Trellis for a little while, so I'd love to hear a little bit about your organization, what your fundraiser looked like last year, and then what you did this year as well.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. So we are a not-for-profit organization located within the Shuswap in beautiful British Columbia, not too far down the road from your guys' head office. And like many people last year, we found ourselves not being able to host our annual fundraiser due to COVID restrictions. So we kind of looked for some other alternatives of what we could do. And ended up deciding to go with an online auction and platform. So last year we had an online auction and a 50-50, and it worked out so well for us that we came back again this year and also did an online auction and a 50-50 and a raffle as well this year.
That's awesome. And you also threw in some items so people could buy some items as well on your page this year, I noticed.
That's right. Yeah, we had toques for sale and we had some of the other donated items for sale. A great option for people that maybe got outbid on their favorite item.
Totally. I love that. I love how you gave your donors so many different ways to participate as well, right? From the raffle, the 50-50, to silent auction, and then also selling items and donations. You essentially gave your donors 5 different ways that they could support you, which is super cool. As you continue to look at your fundraising and as you continue to think about, how can we keep evolving? How does that impact your strategy moving forward of maybe, incorporating different fundraising elements into your plans?
Yeah, I think, in the past, we've always just held the one annual fundraiser, but the ease of the system with Trellis, it has us contemplating maybe adding a different raffle in partway through the season, or a 50-50 draw, maybe in the fall or the end of summer, something like that. So I think that we're very much sold on the auction platform, and I don't see us ever doing that again in person. There's no like one night set up and everything has to be put out and in place and ready to go. And, Trellis did so much of the work for us for taking the payments for the auction items that it's taken this one really big, exhausting night and made it into a really manageable way to run the fundraiser for us.
Awesome. I love that. I'm so glad that, we've been able to work with you and thankfully kind of ease a lot of the time that you guys are spending. I know it's been a couple years now, but when did you first hear about Trellis and what kind of piqued your interest to reach out and get started with us?
Yeah, so it was December of 2020, I guess, when we were first exploring what we were going to do instead of our regular auction, because we had realized that there was no way that we were having a room filled with 500 people in February of 2021. And so we started looking at some different online auction platforms, and kind of at first the organization was like, well, can we even do this? And a couple of us were like, yeah, we can do this. Like there's other ways out there. The thing that really drew us to Trellis was, we'll call it local, or as local as we can get to where we are in the Shuswap. That really appealed to us, that we weren't dealing with some no-name corporation out of the state somewhere, that it was somebody that was just around the corner. So we appreciated that. And that's something that's really important to us at the STA, or Shuswap Trail Alliance, is local and giving back to our supporters as well. So that really resonated. The fee structure was right. We really appreciated that the fees for most of the items could either be covered by the donor or ourselves, and that we were able to give the donor the choice so that we didn't just have to assume that that was how it was going to be. And we also really appreciated that it gave us a chance to kind of highlight our sponsors and donors as well. So anybody that donated to the auction, we were able to put their logo up in 2 different places, both with their auction item and on kind of like the running page. And that we were able to link back to their website, so that it wasn't just about us and what they were giving or donating to us, but that we could link back and encourage people then to use them for their services or to purchase items for them as well.
I love that you mentioned that about sponsors, and on your page too, the way you set it up with having all of your sponsors highlighted on your main page, but then per item, like you just mentioned, you could see who donated each individual item. Linking it back to your sponsors' websites, what was the impact for your sponsors, and did you get any feedback from them around the value that provided for those individuals or those companies?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to speak to too many people this year. It hasn't been that long since we've wrapped up. But last year, there was a couple of businesses that definitely mentioned that they had had an increase in people. We have one donor that donated a pair of Blundstone boots, and so many people bid on it. And it was, I think, one of the most popular kind of smaller items on our auction for our first one. And he said the week after the auction, there was probably like 7 or 8 people that came in. They're like, I have to have a pair of these boots now. And so we were really pleased that we were able to drive people back to our sponsors as well.
That's awesome. That's the most BC thing ever, of like everybody flocking over a pair of Bloodstones. Yeah, but I love it. And I love that, yeah, your sponsors too, they got to see the impact. And like you said, being an organization that is so committed to giving back to your community, seeing that impact for your businesses is just kind of really comes full circle from last year. I love that. And I mean, last year you guys did your fundraiser with us and raised about $55,000.
Yeah.
How was the one this year?
This year we raised just over 60,000. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next year, what we're shooting for in the 70s, I think. Is that
I think so.
I would love that. Let's do that. That's awesome. And the last question for you, I'd love to know, how likely are you to recommend Trellis to another organization? And for those that might be listening right now, why would you encourage them to take action and reach out to Trellis about their fundraising too?
For sure. So we're definitely likely to recommend you. And in fact, we do recommend you to other people that have called and asked and said, hey, you managed to do that online auction. Who did you work with? There's no hesitation in recommending Trellis. We've been really pleased with the experience. I think one of the other things that we really appreciated is that there's a person that's available to help. So if you're stumped on setting something up, or something goes completely awry with setting up a 50-50, say, there's a person that you can call, or the chat line is super helpful. And I really appreciate it that you know who you're talking to and that the response is so quick. We've been super thrilled with the service at Trellis. And like I mentioned, we won't be doing an in-person auction, I don't think, ever again. Just don't tell all the people that are looking forward to the fundraiser.
I know, but you know what? It's funny because every single organization I'm talking to, they're saying the exact same thing. I know you mentioned a couple reasons why, in terms of like time and the effort that you guys had put into your auction. Was there any other reasons that you guys are choosing not to go back to a silent auction in person as well?
Well, I think there's still a little bit of uncertainty in where we are with COVID, and that just because we're sitting good right now doesn't mean that in the middle of February, when we hold our fundraiser, that it will be. So I think at least for another year or two, until we know that we're super solid with restrictions, that is definitely a part of why we're going this route. But it's just the ease of it. And instead of having to have like that one culmination, like that evening that everything has to be ready for, you can collect items slowly. We also appreciate the tax receipt part from Trellis. If somebody does make a donation, that's something that we don't have to follow up with. It automatically goes through the system. And the 50-50 tickets this year were so slick that people just bought the ticket. It was emailed to them, the draw. I just had to push 2 buttons on the website. So, I mean, it's just so easy.
Good. I love that. And I think from the other conversations I'm having and conversations you and I have had earlier, I think the impact for your donors is also there too, of the ease for them of coming to one place to buy their raffle tickets and one place to do the silent auction bidding and buy tickets and donations and all of that. And I think as we think about our donors, making that experience as easy as possible for them is going to encourage them to keep buying or continue supporting your organization, which ultimately helps you raise that $5,000 more you did this year. And hopefully that's $10,000 more next year as well.
Yeah, and we're not limited by the number of people that you can fit in a room either. It's, like we had people bidding on stuff and buying tickets from all over BC, and we had people bidding on stuff from Alberta and asking stuff to be mailed to them, which the night of our big annual fundraiser, I mean, it's one evening and you're limited to the 475 people or whatever the venue can hold. So it's great to be able to spread it out to other people. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for having an in-person fundraiser, and we'll definitely do some sort of function again in person, but I don't see us going back to doing an auction a different way. Like, it's just, there's so many pluses for doing it with Trellis.
Absolutely. I love that. If anybody's listening right now, what is one piece of advice you would give them around their fundraising, or what is one thing you do to encourage them to take action now with Trellis or with online fundraising of any sort?
Yeah, I'd say a piece of advice, check in with the team at Trellis for some tips and tricks on how many auction items to have, what kind of items go well, how long to run your auction. Apparently that's a tongue twister, because I think that there's a ton of like a wealth of knowledge that you guys bring that definitely helped point us in the right direction. And, we learned some things from the first year that we were able to change this year. But I don't hesitate to work with Trellis. They're an amazing organization. It's great that they're Canadian. And like I said before, the support is just incredible.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jen. Really appreciate this conversation and just being able to chat with you around your success this past year. And looking forward to keep working with you as you expand your fundraising here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity, Rebecca.
We'll talk soon.
You bet.